Hello, friends. Welcome to A Little View podcast, the podcast where the perspective may be small, but the conversations are anything but small. I'm Gwen, your podcast host, a soon-to-be dietitian, a health coach, and an advocate. This is a podcast where we talk about things that aren't talked about. We're the voice for the unrepresented. We're having empowering conversations about healing your mind, body, and soul. And we're bringing on guests to share their inspiring stories. This is A Little View podcast. And I just want to say a little disclaimer that this podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice. Always talk to your doctor about your own health journey first. And today we have Kailey on the podcast. And Kailey is an autistic person who is a big advocate in the autistic world. She is constantly spreading her message to not only break stereotypes, but show others they are not alone, especially when they are neurodivergent as well. Actually, fun fact, went to high school with Kailey, so I have known her for a very long time, and I was so excited to have her on the podcast just to talk about her work and her platform and how she views herself. So if you could just tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Hi, I'm Kailey. I am 25 years old. I am an autistic person. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 3 years old. In my free time, I love to make bracelets with rainbow loom rubber bands, collect my American Girl dolls. As we're recording, I have 11 in total right now. When I'm not working, I like to hang out with my family, my friends, my cat Rascal, and take lots of naps. That just sums it up.
And so, first of all, I love that you have a cat named Rascal. I love that name. And you said you were diagnosed with autism at 3. But did you know as you got older? Or did you kind of just get told that when you were older?
I knew from a young age, but there was a point actually where I thought that I wasn't autistic anymore because in the end of first grade, all of second, and almost all of third grade, I was actually ineligible for an IEP. So I literally thought that my autism was gone. And then in third grade, I got diagnosed with Asperger's, which isn't a used term anymore. Then I knew that, or my autism was back, putting that in quotations because my autism has been a part of me my whole life. So yeah, I've known, but like I said, there was a point where I didn't know that it would come back.
And how did you feel about it when it was quote unquote gone away? Were you happy about it? Like, oh my gosh, I'm a quote unquote normal person? Or were you like, this is a part of me?
I was happy about it, and I hate to say that. It sounds internally ableist, and it makes me look a little bad, but I was a kid. I was
Yeah.
happy about it because I didn't have to be pulled out of class a million times a day to do speech or social work or stuff like that. I was just able to hang out with everybody else. I did see a social worker. That was the only outside intervention that I had when I was in first through, or part of first through most of third grade. I became eligible for an IEP again at the end of third grade and was never ineligible ever again.
And can you tell me exactly what an IEP is?
An IEP is short for an individualized education program, and it's for students who are disabled, who need extra support in school and need accommodations. So it's like a listed document of what disabilities you have and what accommodations you need. And there's meetings once a year with your support staff and your parents. And I actually attended my IEPs from 5th grade through senior year because I asked to.
Can you explain to me, when you were younger, how did the world seem to you as you were growing up? Was the world difficult, especially in a world that's not made for you?
Yeah, for sure. The older I got, the more I realized that the world wasn't built for me. When I was when you're a kid, obviously the world is like sunshine and rainbows, but then when you become a teenager, become an adult, you realize that not everyone is so kind all the time or accepting. But I've always known that the world wasn't built for me just because I was in an ASD classroom. I knew that was different. But the older I got, and the more, even now, the older I get, the more days go by, the more it hits differently that the world wasn't meant for me. And it hits that I may inconvenience somebody in life because I'm different and it hurts. But the people that accept me for me stick around despite the fact that the world isn't built genuinely for me or other autistic people. And like, unfortunately, like I said, the older I've gotten, the more I realize the world isn't built for me. Even though I'm very confident in myself and who I am, I do know that, and I'm very aware that the world overall is not in my corner.
And how does that make you feel?
It's definitely hard, but I've also learned how to adapt to it, unfortunately. I mean, of course, there's people that are in my corner and the world can be in my corner, but overall, I don't feel like it is all the time. I have to navigate myself differently in order to fit in with societal norms, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense to me. And the way that I go about just social life and navigating the world aren't always viewed as correct, and that can be really tough at times. Especially when I'm like so unapologetically myself. There's people that feel threatened when an autistic comes near them, like, oh, you can be yourself around me, shows an autistic trait. Oh, not like that. Like,
Can
gotta love
you
that.
can you explain a little more? Like, do you have a story of when that happened?
People are always just like, "Oh, it's okay to be yourself," and then when I show one too many autistic traits, sometimes it bothers people, and I've, like, lost friends because of it. Who cares? Those people weren't real friends anyway.
Because they should accept you for who you are.
Yeah, because sometimes I blame my autism for friend falling outs. Not always, but there are times where I have,
And
so.
can you explain to me when you keep talking about autism traits, what does that mean?
Like black and white thinking or like ruminating on topics or missing social cues, not looking people in the eye, just any autistic traits that other people may not view as normal, and they may misunderstand them as being they may view them as toxic, manipulative, annoying, any other negative feeling, when in reality that's not our intention. That's just like how our brain works, and they view it as something so negative when they could make it a positive. And I see it as positive most of the time because I'm not here. I was not put on this earth to fit in. I like to stand out and be who I am.
For sure.
So I just think that people who have distanced themselves from me, or people that talk down to me I've had to distance myself from because of that, sometimes don't like the fact that autistic people are in this world, even if they're intentionally doing it or not. And I'm not saying that everyone who's distanced themselves from me do it because of autistic traits, but like sometimes it feels that way.
And what do you wish you could tell these people that don't seem to understand that and they don't seem to understand, for example, when we're talking, let's just say, and I'm like, Kaylee, why aren't you looking at me? And then I get mad about it. Like, what do you want? What do you wish you could tell all these people that just don't understand about it?
Not everyone was built to be neurotypical. This world doesn't revolve around neurotypicals like everybody says it does. There's plenty of other people out there who deserve to be loved, accepted, valued for who they are.
But I also think too, like, let's say we're talking and you're not looking at me, like, that doesn't mean it's disrespectful. There could be other things going on with you that has nothing to do with me. Like, I think people also take things so personal when it has nothing to do with that person.
Yeah, I personally have a hard time looking people in the eye for so long because, like, personally, when someone's staring at me, it's so uncomfortable. So why would I want to do the same to you?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I try my best to look people in the eye, and there's people that have told me like, "Oh, you're pretty good at it," but it doesn't come naturally to me.
And did you ever deny your diagnosis when you were younger?
I never denied it because since I was diagnosed at such an early age, I didn't know, or I don't remember what life was like before my diagnosis. I was 3, but there were lots of times where I wish that I wasn't autistic. Thankfully, I don't have those thoughts as an adult as much as I did growing up, especially as a teenager. I hated myself as a teenager, and like just thinking about that makes me want to cry because there were times where I would post on my Finsta, throwback to Finstas. Oh my god. Where I would just, like, say, "I wanna have a personality transplant. I don't wanna be autistic anymore." But now as an adult, I've really learned to accept myself for who I am. I love being autistic despite all of the cons that come with it, and I wish 25-year-old me could go back to high school me and just tell her, "It's gonna be okay. You'll like yourself eventually. You'll find people that like you for you. Like, it's gonna be okay, Kaylee." Just like, man, I wish I could tell myself that so bad. But to sum it
Mhm.
up, no, never denied my diagnosis. Yes, I wished I wasn't autistic at one point. And
For
sometimes I
sh
have. Sometimes I have days where I would say I wish I wasn't autistic. This situation would have been easier if I wasn't autistic. But overall, I don't grieve my disability, just like sometimes.
for sure, I totally get that. I mean, when I was younger, I think I had a harder time with it, but I've always known that I was different, like, no matter if I was younger, yeah, like, we were the same height, but I always knew I was a little person, but at the same time, I think there's those days where this sucks, but then even now, sometimes it's like, this made me who I am, so I would never wanna change it, but sometimes I'm like, I don't think I need to change, I think the world needs to learn how to view differences more.
Yes, girl, say it louder for the people in the back.
Yeah,
I
so
wouldn't be I wouldn't be who I am if I wasn't autistic. Like literally every single thing in my life revolves around me being autistic. Like I wouldn't have childlike special interests if I wasn't autistic. And I'm putting childlike in quotations because they're just interests. And I never really think about what life was like if I wasn't autistic because this is my life. This is who I am.
yeah, and you can't do anything about it, like,
And
you're either gonna
I don't want to do anything about it. I like who I am.
exactly. And you kinda mentioned this earlier, but do you think sometimes the relationships you've been in, like your friendships, have been harder because they have a harder time understanding who you are?
100%, and especially people who aren't neurodiverse. Like, a lot of my friends are autistic, a lot of my friends have ADHD, and those are the which I have ADHD also, but those people tend to understand me more than people who don't have those things or aren't ADHD or aren't autistic. So, in that regard, I've been able to find a lot of those people as I've gotten older, and, like, I've had a lot of the same friends for a while. But a lot of the people I surrounded myself with growing up, most of them I don't talk to anymore, and sometimes it's just because "Oh, we've grown apart, not a big deal." But other times I feel like my autistic traits have gotten in the way. And there's also been times where I've personally distanced myself from people who I felt like were infantilizing me and talking down to me. Whether it was intentional or not, they still did it, and yeah,
Mhm.
definitely hard on both ends, me dropping people and other people dropping me.
What do you think autistic means to you?
Being autistic means to me, I see the world differently than most. I sometimes notice details that not everybody else picks up on, but I also don't notice details that everybody else picks up on the flip side of that. So I see the world in a different lens than most,
Mhm.
and even the way I go about traits that aren't viewed as autistic traits, just like normal human traits, are different because I am autistic and I do go about them differently because of that.
Yeah.
And that's because my brain wasn't built to be a neurotypical. My brain was built to be autistic, and a lot of people don't understand or realize that all the time.
And would you say even, because I don't know where you are now if you're in college, but even in high school, like, teachers had a hard time understanding your difference as well?
Some teachers in high school that I had that I'm still in touch with to this day, and those are the people that were, like, the most understanding. Some people just didn't understand at all, and I had to report it back to my social worker and special education teacher because I was having a difficult time.
And what do you think are the biggest challenges of being autistic?
Definitely seeing the world differently. Um,
And what does that
people
mean? Can you explain that more? Of seeing the world differently.
well, autistic traits that the majority of the world doesn't have, like
Okay.
being a black and white thinker is definitely seeing the world differently because most people are very good at seeing the gray area in situations. I'm not always good at seeing the gray area. It has to be like taught to me, or it takes me forever to figure it out. And when I do see the gray area, I always like secretly celebrate to myself. But that's like the big challenge is not thinking in the same way that everybody else does and getting into like altercations with people because I'm quote unquote not correct. And sometimes I'm not correct. Sometimes I truly am wrong, but there are other times where I feel like people have a lack of understanding of where I'm coming from because it's like viewed as not normal. And I'm putting not
Mhm.
normal in quotations, by the way.
And on the flip side, what are the biggest blessings?
The biggest blessing to being autistic is that sometimes I've taught people things about autism that they didn't even know, and
Mhm.
people have like reached out to me and have said writing piece resonated with me. Thank you for posting that. Or I loved your recent writing. Or like, people have asked me for advice on certain things, whether it was for themselves or someone that they know. And it truly means like so much to me that people trust me with autism related information or enjoy what I'm posting on the internet. And that's like one of the best things about being an autism advocate online is people's positive comments and positive opinions have the most amazing support system in the whole world. I'm just beyond grateful for the life that I have. I have a great job. I work with great people. I have an amazing group of friends, family, my cat Rascal, who is the love of my life. I'm just so grateful that I have great people that surround me and that I surround myself with. That's the best part is my advocacy and just my support system that I have.
And my last question that I always end my guests with, obviously it's something around this, but what is like one of the biggest things you want to tell people or your biggest message overall?
Love yourself for who you are. I know it's not always easy, but if you're at a place where you aren't loving yourself, trust me, you will start to love yourself. I wish so very, very desperately that I could just go back in time to teenager Kailey and tell her that. My main message is be yourself. And if you know an autistic person and after you listen to this, just tell them how much you love them and how much you value them and that they're loved in society. Because there's a lot of times where autistic people, myself included, don't always feel that way. And just hearing those simple words truly means so, so much.
I totally agree. Thank you, Kailey, for taking time out of your day to be on my podcast today. And I hope everyone listening got something out of this. And like Kailey said, if you know an autistic person or you are an autistic person yourself, make sure to tell them you love them or love yourself. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening to another episode of A Little View. I hope today's conversation reminded you that your story, your voice, and your perspective matters no matter what. Don't forget to like, don't forget to like, follow, and share the podcast for more episodes. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Love you. Bye.